Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to identify some aspect of the race that might lead us into the winner. Well, Sunday is the big day, the Longines Hong Kong International Races, and all over the Hong Kong Jockey Club website you'll see track work reports, interviews, form analysis, all the things you need to follow the big international day of racing in Hong Kong. And usually on this meeting I look at the undercard rather than the main events, but this year I thought I'd take a look at a couple of the big races. And first of all, I want to take a look at where the winners come from for each of the four Group 1s. They're the focus of the day. And I think there's generally a view that the local horses get overrated by the punters, and the visiting horses, a little bit of an unknown, I guess, they are underrated. Well, I've had a look at all four races according to the betting market expectations through the Hong Kong Tote, and I guess to some extent there are biases towards the local horses, but not always, and sometimes it's surprising where the biases are. So let's have a look at the four races from that point of view. And first and foremost, the Hong Kong Sprint. Well, Hong Kong horses have dominated this since its inception. The winners often the locals at very short prices. But shown here since 2006, when the distance was changed to the 1200 metres, it is now 15 of 19 sprints stayed at home, and that was about the expected return as far as the market was concerned. Lord Kanaloa, well, he put a bit of a shine on the Japanese results. The surprising one, though, is always the lack of Australian success, considering how many good sprinters come from there, but they don't have many runners, and that isn't going to change on Sunday. Now, for years, the Hong Kong reputation in the mile sector was boosted every December. We had a lot of champion horses in this area, a Golden 60, Beauty Generation, Able Friend, to name just a few, and they were often at very short odds, so there was a dominance expected for the Hong Kong horses over the mile. You oppose the milers at your peril even despite that. Even though they've dominated the results, the figures show that they've still performed even better than the betting market anticipated. Now, the longer races are where Hong Kong comes back to the field. Of course, that's been offset in recent years by the deeds of Romantic Warrior. But when we look at the picture overall, the Hong Kong runners do tend to be a little overrated by the market in this 2,000 metre race, the Cup. And without Romantic Warrior, well, it would look like a bit of a bloodbath in terms of meeting expectations. And as always, the Vase is the outlier, the race where the Hong Kong horses are mostly spectators, and that looks like being the case once again this year. So where are the runners to follow in the Hong Kong Vase? Well, expectations are low for the Hong Kong horses, as I said, and they still fall short of those expectations. And over time, you can see here the British runners, which have overperformed their betting odds versus market expectations. So that parochial interest is one aspect of Sunday's racing. Another one that I've seen addressed on social media, and this is my preview, if you could call it that, of the Hong Kong Sprint, is whether Ying Rising can break the track record. Of course, his own track record, 67.20 seconds. He ran 67.33 in the Jockey Club Sprint leading up to this and seemed to do it pretty comfortably. So I think a lot of people are expecting that he will go close to breaking his own course record on Sunday, but history says that probably won't be the case. Now here you see the Jockey Club sprint times versus the Hong Kong sprint times in the same year, since both races went to 1200 metres in 2007. And the reality is that International Day, for reasons due to the track maintenance program, is run on a slower track Tracks break records, not so much horses. When the Jockey Club Sprinters run 3 weeks before International Day, the winter grass has only just gone in, the grass cover is often very light and the track firm as a result. By International Day, the grass has properly settled in, the grass cover is much thicker and the track produces slower times. In the years where you can see that the Hong Kong Sprint actually did go faster than the Jockey Club Sprint, that was due to particularly slowly run editions of the Jockey Club Sprint. Now, I won't be adding to anyone's knowledge if I show videos of Ying Rising or discuss his chances in the race. He's going to go round as possibly the shortest priced Hong Kong international favourite ever. Now, last year, Romantic Warrior and Ying Rising both went off at odds of 1.1. I wouldn't even be surprised this year if Ying Rising goes around at the minimum legal allowed dividend in Hong Kong, which is 1.05. But I do think it's worth taking a look at the race nonetheless, because it's a very rare event for Ying Rising to draw an inside gate. If you have a look at his form, most of the time he's had the outside gate or close to the outside gate for over a year now, and I think it's actually worked for him, as I'll discuss in a moment. An outside draw for a horse with the gate speed and who is considerably better than the opposition actually works because Zac Purton has been able to come out, then sum up his plans when he sees what's happening inside him with the pace. Now, from gate 1 on Sunday, I don't think he can do that. Wunderbar can begin fast. Beauty Waves will be pushing across looking for the lead. He's a very quick horse, as will the Japanese runner Win Carnelian. He likes to be aggressive early in his races in Japan, but whether he's quick enough to lead Hong Kong horses, well, that's another matter. So if this was a normal race, Zac might let one or two of them cross and lead him, take the trail and know that he'll beat them later. If he had a wider draw, he'd have the option of seeing what they were doing before making a decision either way. But really, the only way he's in danger of losing here is if he gets covered up by horses who are not going to be contesting the finish. So he has to be careful about getting pocketed. Lucky Sweynesse and Purton fell victim to that when the then world's best sprinter missed the jump a couple of years ago in this race and was beaten at very short odds. So I think Purton will be very aggressive early from gate 1, looking to either lead initially or at least put pressure on other horses so that there are spaces for him to move off the rail quite early in the race. So if you are one of those fans looking for Ying Rising to break his own course record, at least you're getting probably the right setup to do it with pace on from the get-go. I do think though that in order to break the course record, Zac would really have to want to do that and would have to operate on that basis. And really, I don't know that that's going to happen. They don't pay you any extra for track records. Now, the other race I want to look at in more detail is race 7. This is the Hong Kong Mile and the winning factor, the map. So I'm sure that the betting is going to be dominated here by Voyage Bubble, Galaxy Patch, the Jockey Club Mile winner, and My Wish, the beaten hot favourite from the Jockey Club Mile. But I do think that Sunlight Power, who ran well in that race, and the very good Japanese filly Embroidery have winning chances as well. So this is one of the more open of the Group 1 races. Now, on Jockey Club Mile Day, the Jockey Club Cup was fought out by Romantic Warrior and Voyage Bubble. Voyage Bubble came off second best there, but it's not a race I want to show you. It was farcically run. It doesn't mean an awful lot as far as their prospects going into Sunday. Voyage Bubble, I certainly can't hold it against him what happened in that race with the slow speed. He's got a great chance of repeating his mile win, but he does have a couple of issues which we'll get to later. But I think the favourites for the race were thrown up 30 minutes earlier than the Jockey Club Cup in the Jockey Club Mile, and that was where Galaxy Patch ran out the winner and My Wish was the beaten favourite. So this is race 204, gate 4 red and yellow My Wish, Galaxy Patch yellow, white and blue, and a touch slow away from gate 2. Now My Wish himself isn't the quickest away, but swiftly goes through into 4th, while we see co-partner Prance hurtling over from gate 10, and he then duels with Pray for Mere in the lead, and warp speed ensues, almost 5 lengths faster than average for each of the first two 400-metre sections. But even in this hot speed, you can see My Wish there wants to go faster, and his jockey Luke Ferraris has to wrestle with him a lot of the way. Now, there is a bit to watch. Galaxy Patch also gets a check at the 800 metres back in the field, but the assistance of the fast lead overrides that. In the straight, Ferraris knows the fuel is low and nurses My Wish, while McDonald sneaks up the fence on Galaxy Patch, who stays on strongly as the leaders are emptying out. And My Wish, well, he has the lead only momentarily. Galaxy Patch keeps running, and 2 more finishes from the back cut the favourite out of a place. So disappointing for backers at odds of 1.4 there, My Wish, but certainly not a failure by any means, and his trainer Mark Newnham has said that the 5-week gap between races there really didn't suit the horse. He was too fresh, and that's why he over-raced there, and even in the fast pace he was wanting to go faster, and that emptied him out quicker than he normally would. Now, I think the map is really the key winning factor on Sunday, not because this race is going to be slowly run, but there are a couple of very key personnel changes in the event. There's a change of rider on the likely leader here, co-partner Prance. That's significant, as Keegan DeMello has been running them along pretty strongly on this horse his last 2, as we saw in that replay. Now, both times co-partner Prance was quite game, not getting beaten far despite using that speed. So he's probably the leader again, but I suspect Maxime Guyon might be not going quite as fast, especially as he's got the inside draw and doesn't need to cross the field. Also, there looks no runner to engage with him through the race the way that Pray for Mere did in that replay. All of that changes the pace, and that's a negative for Galaxy Patch, the big beneficiary of that fast tempo last time. His whole career he's raced out the back and produced big finishes, and any attempt to be closer has not ended well. That throws up the likelihood of traffic problems from the inside as well. Now, with less of a cracking pace, the field might not string out to make gaps for some wide drawn horses to drop into, and if Voyage Bubble or anyone else wants to be positive from out wide, there's still going to be enough speed there to make them work hard, with Red Lion likely up outside the leader. Meanwhile, Luke Ferraris has all the options here with My Wish. So the tip from me in race 7, the Hong Kong Mile, is My Wish. His winning factor, the map. Now, we saw that really he was involved in some of the disadvantages in the lead-up race, as well as being too fresh, and those things combined really brought about him being too soft at the finish when the run-on horses came. But I think we've got a different style of race on Sunday. He'll be a bit fitter. He's only had 3 weeks between runs, and this time all the advantages are with My Wish, and his rivals look to have some obstacles. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. Enjoy the big Group 1s. We'll see you next time.